The meeting place was a storage bay on the lowest level of Helio 7, far from the main corridors where Veltran purifiers patrolled. Taeyang carried Jiwoo in a modified supply bag, the kind workers used to transport equipment. The baby stayed quiet, understanding somehow that silence meant safety. Mireille led them through maintenance tunnels that most station residents didn't know existed. She'd worked on Helio 7 long enough to learn all its secrets. Finally, they reached a door marked with faded warning signs. Inside, a man waited. Yunwoo Nam looked nothing like Taeyang expected. Most smugglers he'd met were rough, scarred, dangerous-looking people. Yunwoo wore expensive clothes and had the easy smile of someone who'd never worried about anything. But his eyes were sharp, calculating. They took in everything. "So you're the idiot who's been hiding a hybrid," Yunwoo said. "I'd say it's nice to meet you, but honestly, you've made my week very complicated. Can you help us or not?" Taeyang asked. "Help you? Sure, I can get you off this station. I have a ship, false transponders, contacts at a dozen colonies that don't ask questions." Hyunwoo's smile widened. "For the right price? I don't have much money. I don't want money." Hyunwoo gestured to the bag where Jiwoo hid. "I want information. About that baby. Specifically about who his parents are." Taeyang's grip tightened on the bag. "What do you know about his parents?" "More than you do, apparently." Hyunwoo pulled out a tablet and showed them data files. "I've been tracking this situation since the purifiers arrived. See, I make it my business to know things. And what I know is that the Velthrons are desperately looking for this hybrid, not just because he exists, but because of who created him." Mirai stepped closer to look at the tablet. Her expression changed to shock. "These are genetic markers. High caste Velthron, very high caste. Not just high caste," Hyunwoo corrected. "Lord Vekrath, one of the 7 ruling council members of the entire Veltran Empire. He's the one who ordered this baby disposed of." The words hit Taeyang like a physical blow. He'd known Jiwoo's Veltron parent had to be someone important to go to such lengths to hide the baby's existence. But a council member? That changed everything. "Show me proof," Taeyang demanded. Hyunwoo brought up more files. Medical records, DNA comparisons, intercepted communications. The evidence was clear. Lord Vekrath had taken a human woman prisoner 3 years ago. She'd been from a colony ship that strayed too close to Veltron space. When she became pregnant, Vekrath had kept her hidden, perhaps out of curiosity, perhaps out of something else. But when the baby was born, he'd ordered both mother and child eliminated. "The mother?" Taeyang asked quietly. "Dead. Killed right after giving birth. Vekrath's personal guards handled it." Yunwoo's face was grim, but someone on his staff felt guilty. They put the baby in that disposal pod instead of killing him outright. Probably hoped someone would find him and give him a chance. Taeyang felt Jiwoo shift in the bag. The baby's telepathic presence touched his mind, full of questions and confusion. Jiwoo was getting old enough to understand conversations, even if he couldn't speak properly yet. "Why tell us this?" Mirai asked. "What do you want in exchange?" "Like I said, information. This scandal could bring down Lord Vekrath. Maybe shake the entire Velthran ruling council. That kind of chaos creates opportunities." Hyunwoo's smile was predatory. "I have buyers who would pay a fortune for proof of Vekrath's crime. And I have contacts in the galactic news networks who would spread this story across every system in a week. You want to use my son as a political weapon?" Taeyang said flatly. "I want to use the truth." "Your son is just evidence," Hyunwoo shrugged. "But think about it. If this story goes public, the Velthrons can't kill him quietly. He becomes too visible, too important. Killing him would just prove the story true. He'd be safer. Or he'd have every Velthron in the galaxy wanting him dead. They already want him dead. At least this way, he has leverage." Taeyang started to argue, but Jiwoo's small hand pushed against the inside of the bag. The baby's telepathic voice spoke clearer than ever before. "Mama, I remember Mama." Everyone froze. Taeyang carefully opened the bag, and Jiwoo climbed out. The baby looked at them with those strange silver-brown eyes, and suddenly they all felt it. A telepathic projection. A memory that didn't belong to Jiwoo but to his mother. They saw a woman, young and frightened, held in a cold medical facility. They felt her fear for her unborn child, felt her desperate love, and in the last moments before her death they felt her final thought. A prayer that someone, somewhere, would save her baby. When the vision ended, Mirai was crying. Even Hyunwoo looked shaken. "He inherited her memories," Mirai whispered. His telepathic abilities must have absorbed them before she died. That's not supposed to be possible. Mama was brave, Jiwoo said in their minds. Mama loved me. Daddy loves me too. Taeyang pulled Jiwoo close, struggling with emotions too big to name. This child carried his mother's last moments. Would carry them forever. Before anyone could speak, an alarm blared through the station. Lockdown. All personnel to remain in their current locations. The purifiers were conducting a full search. They're getting desperate, Hyunwoo said, which means we're out of time. You need to decide right now. Let me leak this information and buy you protection, or try to run blind and hope for the best. Taeyang looked at Mirai. She nodded slowly. He's right. If the truth comes out, it changes the game. The Velthrons would have to explain themselves. And they hate explaining themselves. But it puts a target on Jiwoo forever. Taeyang, there's already a target on him. There always will be. At least this way he has a voice. His mother's story gets told. She deserves that much. Jiwoo's small hand touched Taeyang's face. The baby's eyes were serious, far too serious for someone so young. Tell story. Jiwoo's voice said firmly. Mama's story, my story. Make bad people answer. Sometimes children understood things better than adults. Jiwoo knew that hiding wouldn't save him. He'd spent his entire short life hiding. Now he wanted to exist in the light, whatever the cost. Okay, Taeyang said to Hyunwoo. Do it, release everything. But we're coming with you when we leave. I'm not letting Jiwoo out of my sight. Wouldn't have it any other way. Hyunwoo was already uploading files. This is going to every major news network in human space, and several alien ones too. In about 10 minutes, Lord Vekrath's secret is going to become the biggest story in the galaxy. Will it work? Mirai asked. Depends on your definition of work. It'll cause chaos. It'll force the Velthrons to respond. Whether that saves the kid or gets us all killed. Hyunwoo shrugged. Guess we'll find out. The upload finished. Somewhere across the station, across space, across hundreds of worlds, the truth began to spread. A Velthran lord's crime. A murdered human woman. A hybrid child left to die. And now that child stood in a storage bay, held in his father's arms, waiting to see if the truth would set him free or condemn him. Outside, the purifiers moved through the station, getting closer. But now the game had changed. Now the galaxy was watching. Jiwoo looked up at Taeyang and smiled. Despite everything, despite the danger, he smiled. Because his daddy was here, and that made him feel safe. The alarm woke Taeyang from a restless sleep. He sat up quickly, his heart pounding. Next to him, Jiwoo stirred in his modified crib, sensing his father's sudden fear. What wrong? The baby's voice whispered in his mind. Shh, it's okay. Taeyang checked his terminal. A message flashed across the screen. All personnel were to report to their stations. A Velthron diplomatic vessel had requested emergency docking clearance. Taeyang's blood went cold. In the 6 months since Jiwoo's arrival, no Velthron ships had docked at Helio 7. They usually avoided human stations, considering them beneath their dignity. But now one was here, and Taeyang didn't believe in coincidences. His communicator buzzed. It was Mirai. Did you see the alert? Her voice was tight with worry. Yes. This isn't a social visit. Veltran ships don't make emergency stops unless something is very wrong. What do we do? Keep Jiwoo hidden. I'm checking the official channels now. I'll contact you when I know more. The hours that followed were torture. Taeyang went to his shift at the docking bay, trying to act normal while his mind raced with possibilities. Every announcement over the station intercom made him jump. Every footstep in the corridor could be someone coming for Jiwoo. By mid-shift, word had spread through the station. The Velthran vessel wasn't just diplomatic. It carried purifiers. Taeyang had to grip his workstation to stay upright when he heard the news. Purifiers. The hunters Mirai had warned him about. They were here. He rushed back to his quarters as soon as his shift ended. Mirai was already there, waiting outside his door. Her face was pale. We have a serious problem, she said as soon as they were inside. The purifiers are conducting genetic screenings. They say it's routine security, but I accessed their communication logs. They're looking for something specific, a hybrid. They tracked biological markers from a disposal pod back to the station. Taeyang felt like the floor had dropped away. They know. They suspect. They don't have proof yet. Mirai pulled up data on her tablet. But they're systematic. They're going section by section, screening every resident. It's only a matter of time before they reach this level. Jiwoo, who had been playing quietly with a simple toy Taeyang had made, suddenly went very still. His eyes locked onto the door, and Taeyang felt a spike of fear from the baby's telepathic presence. Bad people? Jiwoo's voice trembled in his mind. Coming. He can sense them? Mirai asked. I think so. His abilities keep growing. Taeyang picked up Jiwoo, holding him close. We need to move him. Where? The station isn't that big. If they're screening everyone, there's nowhere to hide. Before Taeyang could answer, his terminal chimed. A message from Station Administrator Dae-Hyun Cho. All residents of Section 7 were to report for genetic screening within the hour. Section 7 included Taeyang's quarters. That's it then, Taeyang said quietly. It's over. No, Mirai's voice was firm. There has to be a way. We just need to think. But thinking was hard when panic clawed at Taeyang's chest. He looked at Jiwoo, at his son's frightened face, and felt rage build inside him. This innocent child had done nothing wrong. His only crime was existing. And now soldiers were coming to murder him for it. We run, Taeyang decided. Take one of the maintenance ships. Leave before they can stop us, and they've locked down all ship traffic. Nothing leaves without Velthrin clearance. Mirai paced the small room. Wait, what about Jiwoo's abilities? You said they're growing stronger. What about them? He can affect minds, right? Project thoughts, share feelings. What if he can do more? As if responding to her words, Jiwoo's small hand pressed against Taeyang's chest. The baby's eyes closed in concentration. And then something strange happened. The air around them seemed to shimmer slightly like heat waves. Mirai gasped. She pulled out her medical scanner and pointed it at Jiwoo. The device flickered, showing nonsense readings. He's creating some kind of interference. The scanner can't get a proper lock on him. Can he hide himself from their scanners? Maybe, if he's strong enough. If he can maintain it. Mirai knelt down to Jiwoo's eye level. Little one, can you keep doing that? Can you stay hidden from the bad people? Jiwoo's response came not in words but in a feeling. Determination mixed with fear. He understood what was at stake. Over the next 30 minutes they prepared. Mirai coached Jiwoo, helping him maintain the telepathic interference field. Taeyang hid all evidence of the baby's existence, turning his quarters back into a normal living space. When the purifiers arrived at his door, Taeyang was ready. Or as ready as he could be. The leader was tall even for a Velthrin, with skin that shimmered with an oil-slick rainbow effect. His armor was black with silver markings and his eyes were cold as space. I am Commander Vekroth of the Purifiers, he announced. You will submit to genetic screening. Of course. Taeyang tried to keep his voice steady. Whatever you need. 2 other purifiers entered carrying scanning equipment. They swept the room methodically while Vekroth watched. Taeyang stood perfectly still, aware of Jiwoo hidden in a concealed compartment in the wall behind a maintenance panel. The baby's telepathic presence was stretched thin, fighting to stay hidden. The scanners passed over the wall. Once, twice. The purifier operating it frowned. Interference in this section, Commander. Vekroth stepped closer. What kind of interference? Unknown. The readings are corrupted. Taeyang's heart hammered. They were going to find him. They were going to tear apart the walls and find Jiwoo, and there was nothing he could do. Then Mirai's voice came over the station intercom. Medical emergency in Section 3. Possible outbreak of Rigelian fever. All personnel in that section need immediate screening. Vekroth's expression didn't change, but his attention shifted. Rigelian fever could spread through a station in hours. Even Velthrons could catch it. We will return to this section, Vekroth said to Taeyang. Do not leave your quarters. They filed out, moving quickly toward the medical emergency. As soon as the door closed, Taeyang rushed to the wall panel and pulled it open. Jiwoo collapsed into his arms, exhausted. The baby's skin was pale and his breathing was shallow. Too hard, Jiwoo's weak telepathic voice whispered. So tired. You did amazing, Taeyang said, his voice breaking. You were so brave, his communicator buzzed. Mirai, the outbreak was faked, but it won't buy us much time. Maybe a few hours. They're going to come back and Jiwoo won't be strong enough to hide again. Then we need another plan. I'm working on it. There's someone I think can help us. A smuggler named Hyunwoo. He has connections. But Taeyang, if we go down this road, we're not coming back. We'll be fugitives. Taeyang looked at Jiwoo, who had fallen asleep in his arms, completely trusting that his daddy would protect him. The choice wasn't really a choice at all. Set up the meeting, he said. We're getting off this station. Outside his window, the Veltron vessel hung in space like a black knife. Commander Vekroth was in there somewhere planning his next move. But Taeyang was planning too. He'd already saved Jiwoo once. He would do it again no matter what it cost. The game had begun and there was no going back. 3 months had changed everything and nothing. The station still hummed with the same routines. Ships came and went. Workers complained about the same problems. But in Taeyang's small quarters, a secret life had begun. The baby had survived that first terrible night and then the next and the next. Taeyang had named him Jiwoo, a simple human name that meant wisdom and kindness. It felt right for a child who could touch minds. Jiwoo grew faster than human babies. His Velthrin genetics made him develop at an alarming rate. At 3 months, he looked like a 6-month-old human child. He could already hold his head up, reach for objects, and his telepathic voice grew clearer every day. Hungry, Jiwoo would project when he needed food, cold when the temperature dropped. Happy, when Taeyang held him. The simple thoughts filled Taeyang's lonely quarters with life he hadn't felt in years. He found himself talking to Jiwoo constantly, explaining everything he did. The baby watched him with those strange silver-brown eyes, taking in the world with an intelligence that both amazed and frightened Taeyang. But keeping a secret baby on a space station was harder than he'd imagined. Jiwoo needed special nutrition. His hybrid biology required a careful balance of human and Velthrin supplements. Taeyang had to requisition supplies from medical stores, small amounts at a time, hoping no one would notice the pattern. Someone did. Mireille Park had been the station's medical officer for 5 years. She was good at her job, maybe too good. She noticed when supplies went missing. She noticed when a salvage worker suddenly developed an interest in infant nutrition and biocellular supplements. She cornered Taeyang in the supply corridor one afternoon. He just grabbed his weekly order when she appeared behind him. "We need to talk," Mireille said. Her voice was calm but firm. Taeyang's blood went cold. "I'm busy. This isn't a request." She gestured to the medical bag in his hands. "You've been taking specialized supplements for 3 months. The pattern matches hybrid infant care requirements, so either you're conducting illegal genetic experiments or you're hiding something." For a moment, Taeyang considered running, but Mireille blocked the corridor, and besides, where would he go? The station was only so big. "My quarters," he said quietly. "We talk there or not at all." Mireille followed him in silence. When they reached his room, Taeyang locked the door and turned to face her. She stood with her arms crossed, waiting. "If I show you," Taeyang said, "there's no going back. You'll have to make a choice. And I need to know you'll make the right one." "Show me." Taeyang walked to his sleeping area. He'd built a small enclosed crib from storage containers, lined with soft materials he'd traded for. Inside, Jiwoo slept peacefully, his tiny chest rising and falling. Mireille's eyes went wide. She stepped closer, her medical training overriding her shock. "That's a hybrid. Velthrin and human. His name is Jiwoo. How long have you had him?" 3 months. I found him in a disposal pod. They left him to die." Taeyang's voice hardened. "I couldn't let that happen." Mireille stared at Jiwoo for a long moment. Then she turned to Taeyang, and her expression was complicated. Fear, sympathy, anger all mixed together. "Do you have any idea what you've done? If the Velthrins find out, they'll kill him. And probably you too. The genetic sanctity accords are clear." "I know. And you did it anyway?" "What would you have done?" Taeyang asked. "Could you have let a baby die?" Mireille didn't answer immediately. She looked back at Jiwoo, who stirred in his sleep. His small hand reached out as if grasping for something in a dream. "I need to examine him," she finally said. "Properly. If I'm going to help you, I need to know what we're dealing with." Relief flooded through Taeyang. "You'll help?" "I haven't decided yet, but I'm not going to report you until I know more." Mireille pulled out her medical scanner. "Wake him up gently. I need readings." Taeyang carefully lifted Jiwoo from the crib. The baby's eyes opened, and immediately Taeyang felt a warm presence in his mind. "Daddy, new person." "It's okay," Taeyang said softly. "She's a friend," Mireille gasped. "Did he just—" Was that telepathy? "He's been doing it since I found him. It's getting stronger." As Mireille ran her scans, Jiwoo watched her with curious eyes. His small hand reached out and touched her arm. Suddenly, Mireille's expression changed. She looked startled, then sad. "He showed me something," she whispered. A feeling, fear, pain, abandonment. These are his memories from inside that pod. He can do that now, Taeyang said. Share feelings. Sometimes images. The medical scanner beeped and Mirai studied the results. Her face grew serious. His genetics are more stable than they should be. Hybrid vigor, maybe. But there's something else. His brain development is accelerated. He's not just growing fast physically. His mind is developing at an incredible rate. Is that dangerous? I don't know. There's no data on Velthran human hybrids. They're always terminated before we can study them. Mirai sat down heavily. This child is unique. Possibly the only living example of his kind. I don't care about unique, Taeyang said. I just want him to be safe. Mirai looked at him with new understanding. You love him. Actually love him. He's my son. Biology says otherwise. Biology can go to hell. A small smile crossed Mirai's face. Then it faded. Taeyang, you need to understand something. The Velthrans don't just dislike hybrids. They hunt them. There's an entire division called the Purifiers. Elite soldiers whose only job is to eliminate genetic contamination. If they get even a hint that Jiwoo exists, they'll come. Then they can't find out. It's not that simple. Velthran ships pass through here weekly. Any one of them might have scanning equipment that could detect his unique genetic signature. Taeyang held Jiwoo closer. The baby made a small sound, content in his father's arms. Then we'll figure something out. We have to. Mirai was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed. I must be crazy. Okay, I'll help you. But we need to be smart about this. I'll create a false medical file. Requisition supplies through proper channels, nothing suspicious. And I'll research his condition, see if there's any way to mask his genetic signature. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This could destroy both our careers. Or worse, she stood up. I'll come by tomorrow to do a full examination. Keep him hidden, keep him quiet, and pray the Velthrans stay away. After Mirai left, Taeyang sat with Jiwoo in his arms. The baby looked up at him with those remarkable eyes. Safe? Jiwoo's telepathic voice asked. Safe, Taeyang promised, though he wasn't sure if it was true. I'll keep you safe. Jiwoo smiled, a tiny expression that transformed his face. Then he projected a feeling rather than words. Pure trust. Complete faith that his daddy would protect him from anything. Taeyang hoped he could live up to that trust. Because now he wasn't alone in this. Mirai was risking everything, too. And somehow that made it feel both better and worse. That night, as Jiwoo slept peacefully, Taeyang stared at the ceiling of his quarters. He'd made his choice months ago in that docking bay. Now there was no going back. He was a father, and he would do whatever it took to keep his son alive, even if it meant standing against the entire galaxy. The cold metal hallway echoed with Taeyang's footsteps as he walked toward the outer docking bay. It was late in the station's artificial night cycle, and most of the workers had gone to sleep. He liked these quiet hours. They gave him time to think, or more importantly, time not to think. Taeyang Kim had been working on Helio 7 for 6 months now. The asteroid mining station floated in the dark between worlds, a place where humans and aliens did business but rarely spoke more than necessary. He preferred it that way. After what happened on Earth, he wanted to be alone. His job was simple. Check the cargo pods that passing ships dumped in space. Sometimes they contained salvage worth selling. Most times they held garbage. Tonight felt like another garbage night. The scanner in his hand beeped as he approached the collection zone. 3 pods floated in the magnetic net waiting for inspection. 2 were standard waste containers from human vessels. The third made him stop. It was different. Smaller. The metal had a strange purple sheen that caught the light. Taeyang had seen enough alien containers to recognize Velthran design. The Velthrans were proud creatures, tall and elegant, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. They rarely threw anything away, and they certainly didn't use the human garbage collection zones. His curiosity won over his fatigue. Taeyang pulled the pod into the airlock and began the decontamination cycle. As the green light flashed, indicating it was safe, he opened the container. The smell hit him first. Biological waste. Something had died in there or was dying. Taeyang's stomach turned, but he'd worked salvage long enough to push through discomfort. He pulled out his torch and shined it inside. That's when he saw the sack. It was made of some kind of biofabric, the kind Velthrans used for medical containment. Through the semi-transparent material, he could see something small. Something moving, barely. Taeyang's hands shook as he carefully lifted the sack from the pod. It was light, too light. Inside was a baby. The infant's skin was pale, almost translucent, with faint purple patterns running along its tiny arms. Its eyes were closed and its breathing was so shallow that Taeyang had to watch closely to see its chest move. Half human. Half Veltron. A hybrid. Taeyang had heard stories about hybrids. The Velthrons considered them abominations. Their entire culture was built on genetic purity. Mixed children were not just unwanted, they were illegal. The Genetic Sanctity Accords, the treaty that held the galactic peace together, made it clear. Hybrids had no rights, no protections. This baby had been thrown away like trash. As Taeyang stared at the dying infant, something strange happened. He heard a voice, not with his ears but inside his mind. It was soft, desperate, full of pain and fear and longing. "Daddy." The word hit him like a physical blow. Taeyang stumbled backward, nearly dropping the sack. He looked around the empty docking bay. No one else was there. The voice had come from the baby, telepathy. Some Velthrons had it, but weakly. Humans didn't have it at all. But this child, this hybrid, had somehow pushed a thought into his head. Its first thought. Its last thought, maybe. Daddy. Taeyang's throat tightened. He had never been a father. Never planned to be one. After his wife died in the colony collapse 3 years ago, he'd sworn off connections. They hurt too much when they broke, but this baby was dying. Right here. Right now. In his hands, every regulation said he should report this. Call medical. Let the station administrator handle it. The Velthrons would come. They would take the body and dispose of it properly. Everything would be done according to procedure. Taeyang looked at the infant's face. So small, so helpless. Its tiny fingers curled weakly against the biofabric. "To hell with procedure," he whispered. He sealed the sack carefully and tucked it inside his jacket. The docking bay cameras were broken in this section. He'd been meaning to report it, but never had. Now he was grateful for his own laziness. The walk back to his quarters felt like it took hours. Every shadow seemed like security. Every sound made him jump. But the night shift was light and luck was with him. He made it to his small room without seeing another soul. Once inside, Taeyang locked the door and laid the baby on his bunk. He carefully opened the biofabric sack. The infant's breathing was getting worse. Its skin felt cold. Taeyang wasn't a doctor, but he knew basic emergency care. He grabbed his personal med kit and scanned the baby's vital signs. The readings made his heart sink. Severe dehydration, malnutrition, core temperature dropping. The child had maybe hours left. His fingers flew over his personal terminal, searching medical databases. Velthran infant care, human infant care, hybrid physiology. Most of the files were locked or restricted. The few he could access contradicted each other. No one had ever tried to save a hybrid baby. No one had wanted to. Taeyang found a formula that might work. A mixture of human amino supplements and Velthron cellular nutrients. It was a guess. A desperate guess. But it was all he had. He mixed the formula and loaded it into a medical feeding tube. As gently as he could, he helped the baby drink. At first, nothing happened. Then the infant's throat moved. It was swallowing. "Come on," Taeyang urged. "Come on, little one. Stay with me." The baby's eyes opened. They were unusual. A mix of human brown and Velthran silver, creating a color Taeyang had never seen before. The child looked at him, really looked at him, with an awareness that seemed impossible for someone so young. And then again, that voice in his mind. "Daddy. Stay." 2 words this time. The baby was asking him not to leave, promising that it would stay, that it would live if he stayed too. Taeyang felt something break inside his chest. The wall he'd built around his heart after his wife's death cracked and crumbled. He reached out and gently touched the baby's cheek. "I'm here," he said. "I'm not going anywhere." He didn't sleep that night. He sat next to the bunk, feeding the baby small amounts every hour, monitoring its vital signs, adjusting the formula mixture. Slowly, so slowly he almost missed it. The infant's color improved. Its breathing steadied. Its temperature rose. As the station's artificial dawn cycle began, painting his small window with fake orange light, the baby fell into a peaceful sleep. Real sleep, not the half-death from before. Taeyang leaned back in his chair, exhausted but unable to look away from the tiny creature he'd saved. What had he done? He'd broken galactic law, harbored an illegal entity, put himself and potentially the entire station at risk. But when he looked at that small sleeping face, he couldn't bring himself to regret it. The baby had called him Daddy. And somehow, impossibly, he'd answered yes. The news spread faster than anyone expected. Within an hour of Hyunwoo releasing the information, every major news network was running the story. A Velthran council member caught in scandal. A human woman murdered. A hybrid baby left to die. The galactic networks loved it. Humans especially loved it, because it confirmed what many had suspected. The Velthrans, for all their claims of superiority, were just as flawed as anyone else. Taeyang watched the news feeds on Hyunwoo's tablet as they moved through the maintenance tunnels toward the smuggler's ship. Station security was in chaos. The Velthrons were demanding answers. Administrator Daehyun Cho was trying to maintain order while angry human workers confronted the purifiers in the corridors. "The ship is 2 levels down," Hyunwoo said, leading them through a narrow passage. "If we can reach it before they lock down the docking systems, we're clear." "That's a big if," Mireille muttered. She carried emergency supplies in a bag, everything they might need for a quick escape. Jiwoo rode on Taeyang's shoulders, his small hands gripping his father's hair. The baby's telepathic presence was alert, scanning ahead for danger. Several times he warned them to stop, and they heard purifier patrols pass by nearby corridors. They were almost to the lower docking level when Jiwoo suddenly went rigid. His hands tightened painfully in Taeyang's hair. "Bad man, very bad man. Coming." Before Taeyang could ask what he meant, a door ahead of them opened. Commander Vekroth stepped through, blocking their path. He was alone, but his hand rested on the weapon at his hip. "I knew you would try to run," Vekroth said. His voice was cold, emotionless. "The news story was clever, but it doesn't change anything. The hybrid must be eliminated." "You saw the news," Hyunwoo said, positioning himself between Vekroth and the others. "The whole galaxy knows about him now. If he disappears, everyone will know you killed him. That's not a good look for your people. My people have endured worse than bad publicity." Vekroth's eyes fixed on Jiwoo. "Genetic purity is our foundation. Compromise it and our entire civilization crumbles. One child is not worth that risk. He's not just one child," Taeyang said. "He's my son. He is an abomination. He's a baby. An innocent baby who never asked to be born. What's wrong with your people that you can't see that?" For the first time, emotion flickered across Vekroth's face. Something that might have been pain. "You know nothing of what you speak. Nothing of the burden we carry." Jiwoo's telepathic voice suddenly filled all their minds, not just Taeyang's. Everyone in that corridor felt it. "Why you hate me?" "I don't hurt anyone." Vekroth staggered as if struck. His hand went to his head. "Get out of my mind, creature." "I not creature. I Jiwoo." "Why you hate Jiwoo?" "Because you exist. Because you are proof that our purity can be corrupted. Because—" Vekroth's voice broke. "Because I am like you." The confession hung in the air. Mireille gasped. Hyunwoo swore softly, and Taeyang understood. "You're a hybrid," Taeyang said quietly. "That's why you hunt them so viciously. You're hunting yourself." Vekroth's composure crumbled. "My mother was Velthran. My father was something else. I don't even know what." She hid it well. Used genetic modifications to make me appear pure. When she died, she made me promise to serve the purifiers, to dedicate my life to preventing others like me from existing, to make up for the crime of my own existence. Jiwoo climbed down from Taeyang's shoulders. The small child walked forward, showing no fear of the dangerous soldier. "You sad." Jiwoo's voice was gentle in their minds. "You hurt. But you not bad. Just scared. Stay back," Vekroth warned, but his hand didn't move toward his weapon. Jiwoo reached the commander and placed his small hand on Vekroth's armored leg, and then he did something extraordinary. He shared a vision. Not his mother's memories this time, but a possible future. Everyone in that corridor saw it. A future where Vekroth stopped hating himself. Where he used his position to change Velthran society from within. Where children like Jiwoo weren't hunted but protected. Where genetic purity mattered less than the content of one's character. It was just a possibility. Just a dream from a child who barely understood the complexity of galactic politics. But it was a dream full of hope. Vekroth fell to his knees. The mighty purifier commander, brought down by a baby's vision of what could be. Tears streaked down his face, the first time he'd cried since childhood. "I have done terrible things," he whispered. "Killed so many. All to prove I was loyal, all to hide what I am. It's not too late to stop, Mirai said softly. You can let us go. You can be different. Before Vekroth could respond, more purifiers rounded the corner, his soldiers coming to support their commander. They took in the scene. Vekroth on his knees, the humans standing over him, the hybrid child alive and well. Commander? One of them raised his weapon. Step away from the abomination. Vekroth stood slowly. He looked at his soldiers, then at Jiwoo, then back again. Taeyang saw the war happening behind the commander's eyes. Years of indoctrination fighting against one moment of truth. Then Vekroth made his choice. He stepped in front of Jiwoo, shielding the child with his own body. Lower your weapons, he commanded. That's an order. Sir, the hybrid, I said lower your weapons. The authority in Vekroth's voice was absolute. The soldiers hesitated, confused, but they obeyed. At that moment, Administrator Daehyun Cho arrived with station security. The administrator looked exhausted but determined. Commander Vekroth, I'm invoking human jurisdiction laws. This child was found in human territory, raised by a human citizen. Your people have no legal authority here. The genetic sanctity accords, one of the purifiers started, are being challenged in Galactic Court as we speak. Daehyun interrupted. 3 different human colonies have filed emergency motions. The accords may not survive this scandal, which means right now this child is under my protection. Vekroth looked at Daehyun, then at Taeyang. You knew this would happen. When you released that information, you knew it would force the issue. I hoped, Taeyang said. I hoped that enough people would see the truth, that my son deserves to live. Your son. Vekroth's voice was strange. You claim him so easily. A child not of your blood. Blood doesn't make family. Choice does. Love does. Vekroth was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to his soldiers. Stand down. We are leaving. Sir, our orders were to eliminate a threat. This child is no threat. He is... Vekroth looked at Jiwoo one more time. He is a possibility. And I will not destroy possibility today. The purifiers left, confused but obedient. Daehyun gestured for his security to escort Taeyang's group to a safer location. As they walked, Hyunwoo laughed in disbelief. Did that actually just happen? Did we just win? We survived, Mirai corrected. That's not the same as winning. She was right. As they reached the secure conference room Daehyun had prepared for them, the reality of their situation became clear. The news story had bought them time, but it had also made Jiwoo the most famous hybrid in the galaxy. Some would see him as a symbol of hope. Others would see him as a threat to be eliminated. Life would never be simple again. But Taeyang looked at his son, who smiled up at him with complete trust and knew he'd make the same choice 1,000 times over. What happens now? He asked Daehyun. The administrator pulled up star charts. Now we get you somewhere safe. Somewhere the Velthrons can't easily reach. I have contacts at a human frontier colony called New Haven. It's far from major space lanes, and they don't ask many questions about a person's past. A fresh start, Mirai said. More like hiding in plain sight. Hyunwoo added, but it's better than staying here. This station is going to be watched now. Taeyang picked up Jiwoo, holding him close. The baby projected a feeling of contentment and safety. Despite everything, despite the danger that would follow them, Jiwoo felt safe because his daddy was there. Okay, Taeyang said. New Haven it is. The journey would be long. The danger wasn't over. But for the first time since finding Jiwoo in that disposal pod, Taeyang allowed himself to hope. They had allies now. They had options. And most importantly, they had each other. As they boarded Hyunwoo's ship and prepared to leave Helio 7 behind, Taeyang looked back at the station one last time. That place had been his refuge after tragedy. Now it was the site of a different kind of story. One where a man chose love over fear, where a child's innocence changed hearts, where the impossible became possible. The ship's engines hummed to life. Ahead lay uncertainty, danger, and a galaxy that didn't quite know what to do with them. But behind them, they left something important. Proof that even the coldest hearts could change, that even the strongest prejudices could crack. That hope, however small, could survive. Jiwoo pressed his face against the viewport, watching stars appear as they left the station's shadow. His telepathic voice was full of wonder. So many stars, Daddy, so many places to see. Yeah, Taeyang agreed, his arm around his son. So many places. and we'll see them together.